How uncertain was the US judiciary at its start? Imagine a nation still finding its footing, where the very idea of a federal judiciary was still in its infancy. When the United States was founded, the judicial system faced significant questions about its authority, structure, and role within the new government. The Constitution, ratified in 1889, established the Supreme Court and granted Congress the power to create lower federal courts. However, it provided little guidance on how these courts should operate or how their decisions would be enforced. In the early years, the judiciary's authority was not universally accepted. Many state courts and political leaders questioned whether federal courts had the power to overrule state laws or even interpret the Constitution independently. This uncertainty was evident in the landmark case of Marbury versus Madison in 1803. Although this case ultimately established the principle of judicial review, the power of courts to declare laws unconstitutional, it was a response to a situation filled with ambiguity and political tension. The case arose from a dispute over commissions 4 judges appointed by President John Adams, and the decision set a precedent that clarified the judiciary's role but also highlighted the initial doubts about its authority. Furthermore, the judiciary's independence was not fully guaranteed at the start. Federal judges were often appointed with political motives, and their tenure depended on the goodwill of the executive branch. The judiciary lacked the extensive infrastructure and clear guidelines that later solidified its role. The first Supreme Court justices, including John Jay and John Marshall, faced the challenge of establishing credibility and authority amid a landscape of political factions and regional interests. The uncertainty extended to the judiciary's jurisdiction and its relationship with other branches of government. The balance of power was still being negotiated, and disagreements over the scope of judicial power persisted well into the 19th century. The judiciary's authority was gradually reinforced through key rulings and the development of constitutional principles, but in its earliest days, it was a system still trying to define itself amid questions about its legitimacy and influence. In summary, the United States judiciary at its inception was marked by significant uncertainty. Its authority was not yet firmly established, and its role within the federal government was still being debated and tested through landmark cases and political struggles. Over time, through legal decisions and constitutional interpretation, the judiciary grew into the powerful and independent branch it is today.